Billionaire Patrick Soon-Shiong reaches deal to buy LA Times. San Diego Union-Tribune Biotech billionaire Patrick Soon-Shiong has agreed to purchase the Los Angeles Times from its parent company Tronc, restoring local ownership and perhaps ending a turbulent period for the storied 136-year-old institution. Chicago-based Tronc on Wednesday announced the sale of the Times and the San Diego Union-Tribune to Soon-Shiong's investment firm Nant Capital for nearly $500 million in cash. In addition to the purchase price, the deal includes the assumption of $90 million in pension liabilities. We look forward to continuing the great tradition of award-winning journalism carried out by the reporters and editors of the Los Angeles Times, the San Diego Union-Tribune and the other California news group titles, Soon-Shiong said in a statement. Tronc also announced that it will form a new division called Tribune Interactive, which will be led by Los Angeles Times publisher Ross Levinson. The company said that an independent investigation into allegations of sexual harassment at previous companies found no wrongdoing by Levinson, who has been on unpaid leave since January 19. The sale, which is expected to close in April, comes after a particularly stormy period for the newspaper, which has seen 3 editors in 6 months, its publisher placed on unpaid leave amid a sexual harassment investigation, and a historic vote to unionize the newsroom. The deal came together quickly, over the last 5 days, and took many observers by surprise. Tronc had fended off previous efforts to buy the company outright or peel off the California newspapers. Tronc had insisted that the Times was key to its growth strategy given its proximity to Hollywood, technology hubs and the Pacific Rim. Soon-Shiong, one of Los Angeles' wealthiest residents and a minority owner of the Los Angeles Lakers, became the latest billionaire to throw a lifeline to a major newspaper. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos bought The Washington Post in 2013. That same year, Red Sox owner John Henry scooped up the Boston Globe and, in 2014, Minnesota billionaire and Timberwolves owner Glenn Taylor bought the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. The nearly $500 million price tag represented a premium for the struggling media properties. Traditional publications have fallen out of favor on Wall Street amid plummeting print advertising revenue. Marketers have been steering their ad dollars to Facebook, Google, Snapchat and other sites and away from magazines and newspapers. At the same time, Tronc and other publishing companies have struggled to boost revenue from the readers they attract online. During the last 18 months, the Times has added more than 200,000 digital subscribers, but the company's revenue has still fallen. For Tronc, the sale of its most prominent property marks a retrenchment. The company is expected to use the $500 million in proceeds to pay down debt and further its digital strategy across the remaining papers, which include the Chicago Tribune, Orlando Sentinel, South Florida Sun-Sentinel, Baltimore Sun and the New York Daily News. We are pleased to transition leadership of the Los Angeles Times and the San Diego Union-Tribune to local ownership, and we are certain that the journalistic excellence in Southern California will continue long into the future, Justin Dearborn, CEO of Tronc, said in the statement. This transaction allows us to fully repay our outstanding debt, significantly lower our pension liabilities and have a substantial cash position following the close of the transaction, he said. We will have a versatile balance sheet that will enable us to be even more aggressive in executing on our growth strategy as a leading player in news and digital media. As part of its newly formed Tribune Interactive, Dearborn said Tronc will continue to build the future of the company through product and digital content innovations and distribution initiatives, as well as strategic partnerships and acquisitions to accelerate growth. Mickey Rosen, currently the LA Times president, will serve as president of the new company under Levinson. Louis Dvorkin, who was abruptly replaced last week as editor-in-chief of the Times, will be its chief content officer. The company will be based in Chicago, with offices in New York and Los Angeles. We are pleased that Ross will be back to work, Dearborn said in the statement. We have great confidence in him and the team to deliver value for our shareholders through growing digital audiences for our award-winning journalism, new creative content and product initiatives, and growing digital and diversified revenue streams. The Times has long had a strained relationship with its Chicago-based corporate parent. For more than a century, The Times was owned by the same family. Harrison Gray Otis gained ownership of the paper in 1884 and he served as publisher until 1917. His descendants, the Chandler family, controlled the Times Mirror Company until the 2000 sale to Chicago-based Tribune Company. Soon after, changes in news consumption began to erode the business, and Tribune's leaders were under pressure to sell. In 2007, Tribune sold itself to Chicago real estate investor Sam Zell in a costly leveraged buyout that left the company drowning in debt. Within a year, Tribune filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. The company emerged from bankruptcy on December 31, 2012, with a consortium of wealthy investors in control. 2 years later, the board split the company. One group, Tribune Media, was made up of television stations, including KTLA TV Channel 5 in Los Angeles, a stake in the Food Channel and real estate holdings, including the Times' downtown LA headquarters. The second company, Tribune Publishing, housed the newspapers, including the Times. But the turmoil continued. Tribune Publishing's first chief executive, Jack Griffin, in 2015 ousted the Times publisher, Austin Budner, who was trying to build the paper into a civic square for Los Angeles and surrounding communities. Griffin himself was sacked a few months later after he brought in Michael Farrow, a Chicago investor and then owner of the Chicago Sun-Times. Farrow installed Justin Dearborn as CEO, and they renamed the company Tronc. Last summer, Dearborn fired a handful of top Times editors, including the previous publisher, editor, Devan Maharaj. He then hired Levinson, who was placed on unpaid leave in January after National Public Radio reported that he was a defendant in 2 sexual harassment suits before he joined the Times. The San Diego paper has experienced its own upheaval and ownership changes. The Union-Tribune, which is celebrating its 150th anniversary this year, became part of Tribune Publishing in 2015. It was owned by the Copley family until 2009. Soon Soon-Shiong becomes the 5th owner in a decade.